All right, let's get back to boxing here. We got Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell coming up here. First, can I just say this as just sort of like an outsider a little bit? Why are they doing this card on January 2nd? Like, it's not great timing. People got, holidays and stuff. I don't know. Do you find the timing a little bit weird on this?
So the fight has been rescheduled twice, I believe. No, once already. So the fight was not scheduled for January 2nd, nor was it scheduled to take place in Dallas. The fight was originally scheduled to take place in Florida, I believe, and I believe it was supposed to be in November or December. Something of that nature, the fight was supposed to take place. Long story short, Luke, I believe, contracted COVID, and then we had to push the fight back, and then that's how we ended up on January 2nd, honestly. So, yeah, that's for the date. But everything else for this fight, it's everything that you want it to be for me especially, because I have a lot of questions for Ryan Garcia. I have a lot of questions, a lot of unanswered questions. Actually, I have more questions for Garcia at that 130, 135, that range right there, than I have for the rest of those guys at 135. Probably Devin. Him and Devin have the most questions for, because they've fought the least amount of really good competition. So Luke Campbell is not a slouch. Luke Campbell is the equivalent of what Callum was, but Ryan is not Canelo. So it's almost like this is a real champion. This is the highest level. For Canelo, that wasn't the highest level he's seen, but it's a tall guy, right? Similarities are there. Luke is tall. Luke is the champion. Luke has fought. He only has 2 losses. To I believe to Linares, and I believe to Lomachenko. Double check that. I believe he lost. That's his only 2 losses, and those 2 guys were considered the best of that weight. So this is exactly what I wanted to see for Ryan. Him fight a world champion in his prime. He has size, he has length, he has all the tools that you need. If Ryan beats this guy and he beats him in dominant fashion, then it looks like I'm buying a ticket on the Ryan Garcia train, baby. Because if he does that, and he really does that, I'm buying a ticket. Just sign me up. I'm gonna jump on there. Leave me in the back seat though, so people don't know I'm on the train yet. You know what I mean?
For sure. He actually has 3 losses. I'm just looking at it here. He lost to Mendy early in his career. Back in a couple of years ago, back in 2015. But yeah, I like the matchmaking here, because what's one of the biggest complaints about boxing is that oftentimes you see guys built up. I mean, this is a fight where it's really going to determine who the better guy is going forward, right? I know that's very simple of me to say, but oftentimes you see guys sort of on the come up, who's the better guy overall, and that's what we're going to find out in this fight. That's why I like the matchmaking here. And for Garcia, like you said, it's not going to be an easy test for him. It's going to be one of those fights where if he can go out there and dominate, it's going to propel him that much further. This is the type of fight that's going to get him on the map in terms of the grand scale of things, right? Like if he goes out there and puts on a dominant performance, we're going to start talking more about him, because oftentimes when guys are built up, they're fighting easier competition. This Luke Campbell's no slouch, right? Like you were saying.
No slouch at all. This is real deal. This is a real fight. Luke is 29, 30 years old, 32, something like that. He's in his prime. I know that he's in his prime. He's been around, and he may not exactly have a height advantage on him, but he looks long, and he's rangy. He likes to range. He's a rangy fighter. He fights long, and he's right there. And Ryan is 23 years old, 22, 23, and Luke is 32, 33 years old. So it's the perfect fight. Actually, I actually like this fight better for Ryan than I like the Linares fight, because Linares is a little bit past, just a little bit past the prime. He's not done, but he's a little bit past the prime, to where Luke is in the middle of his prime. Like he's right in the middle of it. You know what I mean? So let's see what he does with a guy like that, a former world champion.
Before we move on from this fight, if Garcia wins this fight, what are the options? And conversely for Campbell, what do you think are the options going forward for both fighters?
If I'm Ryan and he wins this fight, and I'm in Ryan's team on his corner, I would look to get Linares in there next, just to get another big name on my resume. I would do that. Again, another dangerous fight, but he's in camp with a guy who's known of taking really dangerous fights. Canelo takes all comers so I'm hoping that this rubs off on him. And at the end of the day, they all want to unify and become undisputed champion. But that's a tough task, because you have a guy who has three out of the 4 belts. He really had 4, but they gave that other one to well, he's the super champ and the other guy's the regular champ, which is Devin Haney. So you know, they wanna you wanna build that up a little bit. I think Haney needs to go fight another credible guy. I think that he needs to get going on that. Because they're all chasing Teofimo Lopez at this point. Let's just be honest about it. Teofimo is the guy with all the belts, okay? And they all want what Teofimo has because Teofimo is the guy that beat the guy. He beat Lomachenko, so now he's the guy with all the belts. So, you know, I don't think that it's right now at the time to make that fight between any of those 3 or 4 guys. I don't think next year is the time for that. I think maybe we're 2 years away from, you know, let them be 24, 25, 26. But if they're smart, I would get this guy early. Like if I would try to get Ryan out of the 4 guys. So you have the 4, okay? Here's the fabulous 4: Gervonta Davis, Lopez, Devin Haney, and Ryan Garcia. Those 4 are the main 4 guys at 135. So I think out of those 4. Ryan might be the guy who has most to prove because he's been knocking guys out and he's knocking all these dudes out, and it's like, who are you fighting? And Devin hasn't fought anybody either. So those 2 got a lot to prove. So I think those 2 need 1 or 2, 3 more really solid fights against really credible opponents, and then you can let them fight each other, you know?
Yeah, no, very well said.